What up, y'all? Man, welcome back to the Man Cave Experience with myself, Cedric Edison, and my main man, my partner, my homie, Ron Serving. Hey, man, we welcome y'all. We glad to have y'all, man. Let's jump into it, man. What's up, bro? What's happening?
Man, I'm excited. Just as always, just whenever we create this space, just to show up and share and dive into a topic that is just so important for especially men, but women as well to talk about. I just love putting our energy out there and just trusting however that turns out is perfect. So I'm fantastic. Got a little rain going on here in SoCal, a little late storm. So cleanliness is in the air. So let's clean it up and rock it.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, y'all know it's mental health awareness month, and we kind of been dealing with this and talking about all this with COVID-19. And we still in those conversations and we moving it along. And we're trying to stay in line with what it is, what people talking about. It's mental health month. We're health coaches. So we want to talk about that, man. But today, y'all, man, we got a very, very special guest, y'all. He out here really, he an essential worker. He on a for real frontline EMS worker for over 20 years, man. Beautiful family. Hey, y'all, this guy, in his line of work, he suffered some injuries to his back, and when all of that happened, man, he kind of turned to food and alcohol. I mean, the whole nine, man. Like anything you could possibly think of, the PTSD and all of that good stuff, depression. But let me tell you, man, today this guy, we I feel honored. I'm sure you do, Ron, to be able
Oh yeah.
to sit down with this guy, and it's he's one of our from our alma mater, man. ACI Institute, and did some big things there. We really won't talk too much about it. He shared that a whole lot, and now, man, he's just touching people, changing lives one life at a time through his one-on-one coaching. He's a speaker now, and being able to reach more and more people in one time. I don't want to talk too much about him, man, because we're gonna bring him on and we're gonna let y'all get to meet him, man. And it's our homeboy, it's our privilege, man, to introduce y'all to Allan Dignard.
Right.
What's up, guys?
Allan, man, good
What's
to
up?
have you
What's
here.
up?
Yeah, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me here. I'm honored to be here on your guys' show today.
So yeah,
Man, we
as
glad to have
we've
you.
we've spoke, yeah, we've spoke before about just this place that Cedric and I created, and we just really continue to be just connected to just opening up opportunities for us to share as men, but also to bring in individuals as Cedric described, just individuals that are making changes not only in the world but in their life. I think we can have this vision of doing things for others, but if we're not doing those things for ourselves, then we miss the boat, right? We're just giving, and we're not filling our cup. So I love, Allan, your story. But before we dive in, I just there's a question that I love to ask, and you may not have the answer to. Maybe just think about it, and maybe you've been asked this question before. Um, so, what's the question you hope we don't ask you today?
Man, I'm an open book. you can ask,
I
you can ask me anything, man. I stayed quiet for too many
love
years,
that. I
so I'm
love
an
that.
open book.
I love that, and I anticipated that being the answer, but I think that question, for individuals that may be listening in, how can we move forward in a way where there's no questions that we're not willing to at least look at ourselves and dive into, but opening that up to others, letting people know our story, letting people know who we are. And with that, I'd love, Allan, for you to share a little bit about your coaching practice, a little about how you show up today, and just some nuggets that you can already start putting out there around just your challenges and experience and moving through this mental health life you've had to deal with.
Yeah, my coaching practice, who I focus on helping, are people like me, so first responders and their spouses. With 22 years on the job, with my experience as a firefighter paramedic, I found myself, about year 17, I was struggling mentally. I was struggling physically. I ended up getting a back injury. I broke my leg. Those were the physical injuries, and and then the mental injuries, with the sanctuary trauma, and then just the repetitive stress from the job, the repetitive stress from home. I just found myself in a very, very dark place. I was suffering from depression, anxiety, emotionally eating, emotionally drinking alcohol to help keep myself numb, and to help me cope. And then, it got to the point where I was suicidal. And then I had a moment of clarity where I kind of just woke up and was like, I need to do something with my life. And I started working on myself. So I made a promise to myself and my family at the time that I was going to be better. So I started on a journey of just health and wellness. So I just started eating better, started exercising, and just really learning about who I was and what my story was. Throughout that journey, my marriage ended up failing. So I went through a divorce, and went through some tough times, and I had to up and sell everything. I just built this custom brand new acreage, 5 acres, custom built home it was my forever home. And I found myself selling it, 2 years later. I had to sell all of my possessions, to kind of make ends meet, pay off debt, and start over. I started sharing my journey on social media to kind of keep myself accountable, to let people know, like, hey, I'm here, I'm working out, I'm getting healthy, I'm working on myself. And then that started to attract people. They're like, hey, well, like, I see you losing like weight and looking better and getting a 6-pack, and I want that. So that was the early stages. And then, I started noticing in these groups, more and more first responders started to want to be in these groups. And then there was a switch. There was a lot of personal development happening because I'm big in the personal development, in the mental mindset. And that was a huge component to my recovery and to my post-traumatic growth. And it still is today. And I just started kind of helping people, and I was like, wow, there's got to be more out there. And, thinking about first responders and psychologists, the relationship that we have isn't very good, right? There's a lot of trust issues there. There's a lot of, there's psychologists don't experience what we experience on the job. So, there's resistance there with actually reaching out and talking to a therapist or a counselor. And that's where I kind of come in and, share my story and be able to provide high-level transformational coaching because I'm a peer. So I've walked in those boots. I've been on those calls. I've dealt with those stresses, and I've actually lived that experience. Mm-hmm. With that, it's instant credibility in, to the first responder community because I'm one of them. Right. So, them seeing me go through the transformation and go from where I was to where I am today, which is 60 pounds lighter. I'm a personal trainer. I am a specialist in fitness nutrition. I'm on the very tail end of becoming a yoga instructor. I'm 22 years on the job, and, I've made that transformation. I've developed that post-traumatic growth. So my practice now is to teach my community, the first responder community, and just males and human race in general, that we have to be proactive with our mental health and our physical health, because in the emergency responder world, we're reactive. We do something when something bad happens. After a bad call, then we debrief from it, right? So we're kind of reactive. And you think about our job in the industry as first responders, well, something bad happens, we go to the call to help kind of, put some sort of control into chaos. So it's kind of what we're used to. So naturally, we're going to be that way. So now my push is to be proactive with our mental health and physical health, to show people the benefits of it, and by not taking care of ourselves first and making sure our cups are full first, the dramatic effects that it has. And we're seeing it with first responder suicide rates at an all-time high, and depression, anxiety, PTSD, failed marriages, you name it. And that's the end result. And my goal is to change that.
And I think we all have heard that, we're in situations where we want that, right? We want to experience what you've, been able to achieve, and knowing that we all have challenges in our life. We all know what we should be doing, but we don't find time or don't find the energy, or we don't give ourselves permission to, to actually do those things. So I'm just curious if you look back in time and had a conversation with yourself back when it was, it was shitty, and it was, you didn't necessarily know at that point what the answer was. What might you share with that, that Allan at that point of your life that might have been the most important thing that he knew back then to maybe expedite this? I mean, I think all the things that you shared, I believe that these things are happening for you. I mean, it doesn't feel like it at the time, right? All these things just coming your way. A lot of it's self-induced. A lot of it's just us being unaware and just not living a conscious life. So I'm just curious, is there something that you might whisper in that little boy's or that teenager or that young adult's ear that might give that person that's listening here today some insight on what they can do now, knowing that you overcome so much and are still creating so much value in people's lives?
Yeah, that's a tough question. But I think what I would say, looking back now, would be just that. Like, life is happening for you, on what you're looking at. Like, I'm a big believer that what you focus your attention on grows. So I was focusing my attention on my profession, on my anxiety, and I was finding ways to stay calm, because being alive and awake would remind me of the pain that I felt. Remind me of the physical pain that I felt in my back, but the mental pain as well. Like, quiet, struggling, feeling alone. And it would be the best process that the universe, or whatever you believe in, that would be greater, has a bigger plan for you, instead of waiting to fully believe in it. We're held back by our own self-belief, and we have no body, right? Life change, and what if? I know living through that depression, living through that anxiety, I was living through it, so I did a survival mode, right? Help. It was tough to come out, and because there was like, well, what happens if I'm judged by my peers? What if I lose my job? What if I'm seen as weak? And so all of those what ifs, and I just had to trust the universe, that the universe had my back, that this was happening for me, and that this was to help me step into the person that I'm meant to be. And without the experiences, I wouldn't have those experiences to pass on and to teach to others down the line.
Yeah. And you have children, right? So they're watching you live your life and learning from you. And sometimes we feel like we need to shelter them from those ups and downs that we go through our life. But it's so important for us, especially as men, to really share that part of who we are, because they're going to go through challenges in their life. And if we just kind of shield them from that, and although they may still look at us as a superhero, if we don't show that side of us where we have a kryptonite that knocks us off our game, then they're going to have some challenges in their life that they're really have a difficult time navigating through. So
yeah, exactly. And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I know Sed's got some questions that he was want to throw out there as well. He's such a patient listener, but
yeah, man. I was just interested because I'm like, okay, so it's a male dominated industry that you're in. I mean, it is what it is. Coming from the military background, kind of the same thing, and we experience some of those same, we see similar things, and we don't want to have that light shined on us, man, that label on your back, because now you think your life, every move gonna be under a microscope. So you don't want to go down that path and own that. But now I've gone down the path. I'm ready to make a change, and all of this is making sense. I can hear the words. I'm not a dummy. But now I've been living my life this whole way, and now I'm here and I don't know what to do. What advice would you have as far as my first steps?
Yeah, the first steps would be to look at your habits. Like, what are your habits and what are your coping mechanisms? I'm a big believer that if we want to make a change in our life, it starts with habits, and then when we start to change our habits, we start to change our belief about ourselves, right? If you think you're weak and that's what you believe, but you start lifting weight and you do it consistently, over time you're going to get stronger and stronger, and then soon you will believe that you are strong because you are proving to yourself over and over that, hey, you can lift heavy things. So that's going to change your belief, and then shortly after that, your identity will follow. Like, now all of a sudden you are just somebody who lifts weights, right? And the same thing with nutrition, right? With nutrition, like, what do you believe? Like, what do you use nutrition for, right? I used food to help me cope and to keep me numb. So I was eating, processed, sugary, fast foods, right? Because it made me feel good because I didn't want to feel bad. So naturally, I went to food that made me feel good. You ask anybody who's feeling terrible or stressed out, they ain't craving a cucumber, right? They're craving a beer or a whiskey or a burger and fries or whatever. So you got to look into that. Like, food is fuel, and so 90% of our serotonin is created in our digestive tract. So nutrition. You want to be happy, eat healthy food. Like, that right there will have a huge impact. So start with your habits. What are you doing to take care of yourself? Like, are you eating healthy? Are you staying hydrated? Are you getting your sleep? Do you have a mechanism to release all of that pent up energy from the terrible shit that we see? Mine is working out, right? But then I also have a mellow side of it with the yoga, right? I got to have balance. Hence why I'm becoming a yoga instructor, so I can have that balance, the yin and the yang. So start with your habits, and those are the hardest because they're habits, right? We have a habit of talking negatively to ourselves. We have a habit of staying up late. We have a habit of eating junk food. Whatever our habits are, I would say start there.
Start with the habits. I love that, man. That is, and like you said, that's one of the. It's easier said than done too, um, always. And I think something one should consider on top of that is always ask yourself the why. Like, why do I want this result? And it's okay. Like, for me, a lot of the times, man, I just wanted to. I was sick and tired of where the hell I had been. It wasn't like some fabulous dream life that I wanted, like, oh my God, like, or something like you even had from where I'm sitting. It was like, man, I wasn't even thinking about a damn forever home. Shit, I'm just trying to get out of this damn darkness I'm in. That's all I want. And it was more important for me to remove myself from that situation. And that was a start for me. Um, so kind of like, what was it like for you, man? Like, was it kind of that same thing, or was it something, some beautiful picture you wanted to see happen?
Yeah, it was. I was actually laying on the couch at home, and my foot was elevated. The one that I broke, that became a habit, and I was laying on the couch, and it was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was drunk, and my daughter was too young to go to school full time at the time, so she was home, and I was taking care of her, and she ran across me, like she ran across the living room. And at that moment, it was just like a moment of clarity. It was like the universe just slapped me and was like, "This is your wake up call, guy. Like this is where you need to make a change. And I remember having that. It was almost like a surreal moment. It was almost like I kind of stepped out and was like, "It's 10 o'clock in the morning, man. You're drunk. Your daughter's here. Like this is an all-time low for you. Like where are we going? Because we're not going in a very good direction." So then I was like, wow. So I put the drink down and I was like, okay, no, I have to do something. And what I did is I put the drink down, and then the next day I started working out. I was like, you know what? I'm fat. I gained like 60 pounds. And I'm like, so I'm going to start to work out. And, I was working out for the wrong reasons. It was because I was fat. But, the therapy that started to come from that, like right after that workout, I was like, holy shit. I feel really good. I haven't felt like that in a really long time. And then I became hooked. And when I wanted to quit, my brain was just like, no, keep going. Keep going. There's something bigger for you. You'll see it. Keep going. Trust me. And so I just did. I started working on my nutrition, and I started to evolve. And that's where I started to develop my post-traumatic growth and really started to work on my recovery.
Nice.
I'm curious, just to kind of shift the topic a little bit. I've been in meetings. I'm a part of a community group here in my city where I live, and the conversation that comes up quite often is just mental health in schools, and just how can we address the challenges around that. And I guess I try to understand and be more mindful of, and at least open up people's eyes to. I guess the tendency for me is tagging everything as mental health. How can we, in our life, in our practices, in schools, teachers, administrative staff, they're just so inundated with every single thing it seems like that comes up in a classroom where it's quickly tagged as, a mental health issue. So I'm just curious for you guys, for both of you, just maybe some thoughts and ideas on how people can, because I know for me, my meditation practice, my mindfulness practice, and really allowing that to be something that people start from, because I think there's opportunities for teachers that may automatically ship somebody off to the counselor's office. Counselors can't deal with it because they got so many other kids that actually have mental health issues that they are trying to work with. And then you've got these lesser cases where it's just a matter of creating some space for that child to be heard, creating some space for that child to express him or herself. So I'm just curious for you guys, just maybe some insights and thoughts around that, because I think I wouldn't say I struggle, but in those conversations, I just try to at least bring it up. What can also be done to those that are just missing the mark because they're not showing up in a way that can actually create change at the subtle level, and not automatically tag it as they're mentally challenged or something more extreme.
You want to go first, Cedric?
I'm sure. Whoa, man. I'm probably about to speak to something unpopular or an unpopular opinion. One, I think, yeah, right. So I'm gonna put it out there, man. One, I think we need to change our mindset around medication, because we've quickly become like this microwave people, and we look at drugs and medicine as that super quick fix. So the moment we see any type of symptom that can line up with the symptom that a drug fixes, then you have that problem. And it's quick and it's easy. And I think a lot of that is happening because we're not looking at the root cause. And I'm thinking from like the sign of children or just people in general. I think the first place we have to start is home. We have to look at home and see what's going on, and find out what it is that is wanting to come out that we're suppressing, because it manifests. Like for me, it manifests in anger. So when I was a kid, I was fighting a lot. And so they just thought I was just a bad kid. No, I had emotional problems. I was an angry kid because my dad wasn't there. Now I've met numerous people with that label, or as ADD or ADHD or depression or even schizophrenia, because they'll say, oh, very mild case of schizophrenia or whatever. Like they just add mild to make it not so bad. But I think that's one, and we just need to focus on the emotional part and what we're talking about, the mental part, and just get at a place of understanding, man, because we're not looking to understand each other. We just want to judge and okay, well, Allan, you're this, you're an alcoholic, or Ron, you're a drug and not even asking, well, shit, okay, he might be an alcoholic, but why did he even start drinking? That's what we need to get to. And there's understanding, man. Understanding and looking at the house. And stop looking at medicine to fix every damn thing. Ugh. Sorry, my tangent.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with Cedric, on that. I mean, medication has a place, definitely, and I think it's a temporary measure until we can get down to the root cause and whatever that is. And when you look at depression, anxiety, PTSD, anger, addiction, those are all symptoms. Like they're all symptoms, and we're treating the symptoms with the medication versus treating the real cause, right? Like, why was Cedric angry? Well, his dad wasn't there. He didn't have that father figure. So, you deal with that issue, chances are maybe Cedric won't be so angry anymore. And really get down to the root cause. And, I heard a diabetic doctor say this before. He's like, you want to cure diabetes? Here's the reason why people keep using food, right, to help them feel better. And he's like, when you cure that root cause, you'll cure diabetes. You'll cure type 2 diabetes. Because food is chemically compromised to cause a stimulation of dopamine in your brain. So when you feel like shit, so when I felt like shit and I was suicidal, I wanted anything to make me feel better or to numb me out so I didn't feel at all. So what did I turn to? Addictive things like food and alcohol, right? Some people turn to drugs, some people turn to gambling, some people turn to sex, right? Like they turn to anything to shut off. Like we don't grow up wanting to be a heroin addict. Like that's not what, like we're born, right? And we want love, safety, and belonging. And if any one of those are threatened, well, Cedric's issue with his dad. Maybe he didn't feel loved, maybe he didn't feel safe, maybe he felt like he didn't belong, right? I don't know, but those are those three mechanisms that we all want as human beings. And if they're not being met, we're going to find other ways to meet them, right? And usually it's through addictive things like food or alcohol or drugs. So I think, when we talk, going back to your question, Ron, to not label everything, I mean, I think we just got to get down to the root cause. And I think if we get back to whole, healthy, natural foods and like really focus on that self-care right from a kid level, like I do it with my kids. My boy, he just turned 12 and he's going through some hormonal changes and he's a sensitive boy to begin with. He has his moments where he has a lot of stress and the anxiety kind of builds him up and he doesn't really have that big of self-esteem. And he was saying some things and I was like, you know what? We're going to work out. We're going to work out. And I was like, I'm going to put you through a workout. And I told him, and he knows working out is good and he likes it. And I worked him to the point that he emotionally broke and he started crying. And I got him to that point and we stopped and I hugged him and I said, it's okay. I said, it's okay to feel this way. It's okay to cry. I said, but it's not okay to say the things that you were saying. He's like, I didn't mean to. I'm like, yeah, but you said them, so it's too late. It's out there. So we have to learn to manage those feelings and those emotions and control them before they control us. And he had a cry, and he was like, I can't do this, Daddy. I can't. And I'm like, yes, you can. and I worked him, and I supported him. I hugged him. I told him I loved him. I told him everything he's feeling is perfectly normal. He had a cry. We calmed him down. We got back to work. He finished that workout. He went up and showered. He came back and he hugged me and he's like, "Thanks, Daddy. I needed that." He's 12.
Wow.
I love that.
He's 12. So to show, that's that father figure that I'm providing for him, but if I didn't go on my journey and utilize exercise as a way to channel my energy, I wouldn't have been able to pass that down to my child. What would have I been passing down? Depression, anxiety, showing him alcohol and food or healthy coping mechanisms. Like, this is what Daddy does, right? This is how he copes. I was angry. I would spank my kids so fast, right? Maybe that's why he has self-confidence issues, because when he was younger, I was in a very bad place, right? So I was not the dad that he probably needed at that time. But I own that. And so now I can be. So I'm working hard to make sure that I show him that his feelings are okay. And they're normal. And he needs to know that he's loved and that he's safe and that he belongs. And so I make sure that I show my children that every single day.
Wow.
That's great. Love that. I love that, Allan, because it's so, even the subtle things that we don't realize how important they are imprint, our children's lives. So it's, so I went through a while back just, with my coach, and just bringing up in each situation, asking myself, what do I want to experience in this moment? And just setting that intention before I just engage in it, because there's so many times where I wouldn't even know what I wanted, wouldn't even plant that seed of I really want to have a good experience. I would just do it, and then I'd have those habitual things that would just, get under, my son would get under my skin, and I would just react just the way I had before. So I love that you're on a daily basis bringing that to your children's lives, because it's, it's the things you're doing now that are going to create that experience as they get older. I love that. I know we're kind of getting short on time, but I just want to ask you one last quick question, and I'll turn it over to Sid. We keep hearing just with this, and we've been on the topic of COVID and just the impacts that we're still experiencing and what's to come. They talk about just, the even larger increase in mental health issues of people that are to come. So I'm almost looking at you are a third alarm, coach. Is there this fourth alarm that's coming that we don't know quite what we need to do to prepare for that? Because I think it's not just a matter of hiring a lot more counselors at schools. It's not just about doing things that we've done before that are just more of them. So I'm just curious for you, Allan, what insight might you bring to this next layer, this fourth alarm epidemic that might come after after COVID is done, the mental health impact of people?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the pandemic it's crazy. It's having a ripple effect across the world, and a lot of people are being affected negatively, and a lot of people are thriving, in moments like this. I mean, here in my household, my girlfriend, she got laid off, but we're thriving. I mean, we're thriving right now, but there's a lot of people that are struggling. And will there be a fourth alarm? Yeah, there will be. Right now, especially in the first responder world and the essential world, everyone's hiding behind that mask. And in times of difficulty, we got to remain tough. But when COVID is finally over, if that's a thing, there's going to be a huge exhale, and it's going to be like, ugh, and then you're going to have a massive fallout. We're already seeing it, and we're already seeing it in the type of calls I'm going to. We're going to a lot more overdoses. We're going to a lot more domestics. We're going to a lot more suicides. We're going to a lot more of everything, because people are at their breaking point, right? They're overdosing on drugs. They're trying to escape, right? They're getting upset because they're fighting over financial issues with their household. We have cops being shot at here, and it's crazy, and the world is stressed right now. I think the reason that me and my girlfriend and my family are thriving is because we thrive on that self-care. We show up every day for ourselves. So when I make sure all of my needs are met first and foremost, I can show up for other people in my life. So I can show up. If my needs weren't met, I wouldn't have been able to show up for my son that day, right? Because I would have been fighting my own internal battles. And same with my girlfriend, right? You know, she's making sure her needs are met. She works out just like I do. We eat healthy. You know, we go for walks. Like, we're very, very mindful of our mental mindset and our physical components. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're thriving. Like, we're eating whole, healthy, natural foods every day, right? We're exercising, walking, biking. We're making sure our needs are met first. And when our cup is full and we make sure it's full, we can pour into those underneath us that need our help. Our children, our friends, our coworkers, our clients. But when your cup is empty and you've allowed it to stay empty, you have nothing to give but depression, anxiety, right? Anger, right? That's what you give, because that's all you have. So I think, you know, there is a wave coming, because we have so many people out there that just don't make their health and wellness a priority. And they put everything else above themselves, and then they realize later, like, man, why am I struggling so much?
Man, Allan, you made me think about something my mama used to tell me, and it was what you just said. And she used to always tell me, like, boy, learn how to take care of yourself before you try to take care of anybody else.
Yeah, man, there's a reason why we put our, you know, when the oxygen masks come down on the plane, they say put your mask on first, because you got to help yourself first. If you don't, you're useless to everybody else, right? And as fathers and as brothers and sisters and mothers and anybody that takes care of anybody, you have to take care of yourself first. And that's that foundation, that solid foundation. So if that foundation is there, then you can weather the storm, because that's all this COVID is. It's just a storm. We will see the other side if you have a solid foundation. If your house is made out of straw, and you go back to the Three Little Pigs, when that storm comes, it's gonna get blown over, man, and you're starting over. And it's just repetitive shit, right? So, but if you work on your foundation, you know, which are like my vital behaviors, like I mentioned, nutrition, exercise, mindfulness, sleep, you're going to be solid as a rock, and you will be able to weather the storm better than the average person.
Man, I wanted to ask real quick, man, because I saw this. What's up with the challenge coin, man?
You mean this challenge coin?
There it is.
Yeah, I brought it just in case you guys were going to ask. You know, I created this challenge coin as a way for people to recover out loud and to ask for help. So in the military and in first response and, you know, emergency services, the challenge coin is been around a long time, and it's very deep rooted, and it's a way to you know, there's a fun side of it. You know, if you're out with, you know, your crew or whatever, and you guys are at a club, say for example, and you're supposed to always carry your coin with you. And if I was to coin you, Cedric, and you're like, oh shit, and you don't have your coin, you got to buy a round of drinks. But if you have your coin and you present it when I coin you, then I buy the round. So that's the fun side of it. But the serious side of it is, if I come to you and I show you my coin, I don't even have to say a word, and you just know that I need help. And that if you are a fellow coin holder, you have to help me in any way that you can help me, right? Whether it's just listen, whatever it is I need, give me a few dollars, whatever it is. And it's to also know that you're part of something bigger. And so as first responders who are suffering with the stigma and feeling alone, that they can't reach out and ask for help, this is a way to ask for help. And this is a tool that I use to recover out loud. So on the front, you will see I have my 4 vital behaviors that I've talked about here. So I have nutrition, exercise, mindset, and vulnerability. And then each coin is numbered. So if you have a coin that says 7,243, well, you know 7,242 other people across the world have this coin. And then on the back is the phoenix. And the phoenix is a symbol of rebirth, of regrowth, and rising from the ashes. So your trauma and growing into something even stronger and more beautiful than you were before. So up top, it says post-traumatic growth, and then on the bottom, it says recover out loud. And that's what I'm all about, is teaching first responders how to recover out loud and how to develop post-traumatic growth by following these 4 vital behaviors and knowing that they're not alone. This month, with Mental Health Awareness Month, I have a goal to distribute 100 coins plus. I'm at 70 coins right now, and I'm offering that if you purchase 3 coins or more, I will pay the shipping anywhere in the world. So I've sold 70 of these coins as of today. I'm trying to hit 100 before the end of the month. But yeah, and that's what these are. They're a tool. And
where do I go to get one, man?
Yeah, you just gotta hit me up. Just talk to me personally.
Well, if somebody listening want to get one, like where they go?
Yeah, so right now it's just message me, through Facebook or whatever. I don't have these up on my website or anything yet. This is a new initiative for me. And frankly, I've just been too busy to get it up on my website to be able to get them out there. So I've just been manually doing them on my own. So I would like a coin or 2 or 3 or 10. I'll get your information for your billing. I'll send you the invoice. You can pay for it through the email. It's that easy, man. And then I ship them out to you. So yeah, and these are all over the world. I've sold over 250 coins so far. The first 100 didn't have numbers. So I've started numbering them after that. So, this one has 001. And
no.
Uh-oh.
Well,
he just dropped the mic. Allan just dropped the mic.
Yeah, he just dropped the mic. We had the coin drop the mic.
Oh, did we lose me?
Here he comes.
I'll come inside. Yeah. But that's what they're for, and it's to teach first responders and just anybody really that they're not alone on this planet, on this earth. We all want to know that we're loved, that we're safe, and that we belong. No better way to know that you belong than be part of something bigger. So that's what those coins are for. And, I want them to blow up. They're all over the world. They're in Australia, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, Ireland, Canada, the US, South Africa. They're in multiple fire departments, police departments, EMS departments, military. They're all over so far. So my goal is to just have them blow up.
Nice. And we gonna put that out there, man. We got the ticker going. If you guys want to get in touch with Allan, you can go to his website, www.thirdalarmlifecoaching.com, to reach out to him and have a more one-on-one experience. And Allan, well, man, Ron asked you a question in the beginning, and you said we can ask you anything.
Yeah.
I gotta ask, man, and I ask everybody that comes on. If space was not an issue, what message would you have on your tombstone to be remembered by?
Yeah, man. That I played all out, that I was like that warm, loving, caring individual that, would help anybody and always be a listening ear. I got to, I'm a big, lovable type teddy bear, for being 6'2" and 210 pounds. I'm a big teddy bear, and I will hug you. I'll tell you I love you. I'm vulnerable. I'll cry with you. And I got to a point in my life where I was very cold, dark, and mean, and I wasn't who I was. And I never want to go there again. I want my kids to be like, yeah, Dad loved us, and he was not afraid to show it. And he loved people, and he loved the world, and he just wanted to do good. So yeah, there's so much I'd want to say about that, but yeah, yeah, he was just a man full of love.
That's beautiful.
Nice.
Way to tie it up and do a nice bow there, Mr. Allan Dignard. We love having you here. We love you listeners that just, there's one nugget, then we've done an amazing job here. And I think that's why we always try to be just open to whatever comes up for us in this conversation. We may have some points we want to touch upon, but we also just love the flow, the interactions, and just us men being willing to just dive into a conversation without judgment, without, you know, what's Allan going to say if I ask him this, or how's Cedric going to, you know, respond? You know, how can you, as a listener, as a human being on this earth, just shift in a slight, you know, in the slight direction that you want to move into, and really understand that, you know, daily small efforts will lead to the life you want to live. It doesn't have to be change your life today. It's, you know, and Allan's, you know, just clearly an example of that. It's just, how can you set yourself up for success knowing every day you're making a conscious decision to move in the direction of love, not in the direction of fear. So I appreciate you, Allan, for being here, showing up. We're going to definitely have a seat in waiting for you to join us again. Cedric, love you, my brother. Appreciate you and everything you bring to us. And again, you listeners, we appreciate you being part of this journey. And just as we move forward, just scratching the surface. There's so much more to come. So we appreciate each and every one of you.
Yeah, man, we appreciate y'all. Allan, for sure, dude. Thank you for blessing our stage today, man. Coming in the cave, hanging out.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Cool, man. Cool. And y'all, thanks for listening. And until next time, man, we love y'all and we'll see y'all.